You're about to realize something that makes most people feel small. And once it lands, it never leaves. Nothing around you is paying attention to who you are. Not in the way you were taught to believe, not in the way your mind still hopes. The danger is not rejection, it is invisibility, because you can fight rejection, but you cannot negotiate with being ignored. Right now, systems are moving, people are choosing, doors are opening and closing, and none of it pauses to ask how hard you tried or how honest you were. This was never about you. It feels personal only because you are still standing inside the illusion that you are the center of the frame. You think eyes are on you, judging, tracking, remembering, when in reality nothing is stopping long enough to care. That realization hits like silence after noise, not loud, not dramatic, just cold and final. Opportunities do not pass because you were unlucky, they pass because you did not project what they respond to. People do not misunderstand you, they simply do not register you. Relationships do not collapse from betrayal, they fade because you were never chosen in the first place. The pain you feel is not from attack. It is from absence, from being skipped without explanation. You were taught that empathy has weight, that correctness earns protection, that waiting proves value, and that belief quietly trained you to become predictable. Predictable men are easy to place and easier to ignore. The world does not reward sincerity, it rewards clarity of role. It does not respond to depth, it responds to signal. You can be complex and invisible at the same time. You can be good and still irrelevant. What you project determines whether you exist in the room or dissolve into background noise. Machiavelli understood this long before it became uncomfortable to admit. Power never reacts to intention, only to presence. When you take things personally, you hand control away because you assume there was a relationship where none existed. The moment you stop believing you are the main character, something unsettling happens, the noise drops, the need for validation weakens, and you start noticing how mechanical everything really is. That quiet is dangerous because once you see it, you cannot unsee how replaceable you were willing to be and how close you still are to disappearing without resistance. You are not late. You are just invisible. That realization is colder than failure because nothing announces it. No alarm, no rejection letter, just silence where reactions were supposed to be. You keep moving, working, explaining yourself, improving yourself, and the world does not respond because it was never watching. This was never about you. The shock is not that people judge you. The shock is that they don't. They don't track your effort. They don't measure your intent. They don't remember your sacrifices. Systems don't reward who you are. They reward what you project, what you signal, what you make unavoidable. Most people live convinced they are the main character, when in reality they are background noise filling space until someone louder walks in. That illusion is comfortable, and comfort is exactly what keeps you weak. The moment you believe your inner story matters, you stop shaping the outer one. You start expecting recognition instead of engineering presence. You wait to be understood instead of positioning yourself to be chosen. And while you wait, the game continues without you. Relationships are not built for fairness. Opportunities are not designed for potential. They are built for those who fit the role at the right moment. When you don't get picked, it feels personal, but it isn't. You were never rejected. You were never considered. That is where the real pain lives. Not in being attacked, but in being ignored. People think betrayal hurts the most, but betrayal requires selection first. Most never reach that level. They confuse kindness with leverage. They confuse empathy with value. They confuse being decent with being relevant. And relevance does not care about your intentions. It only responds to what is visible, consistent, and costly to ignore. This is why waiting feels heavy. This is why trying harder feels pointless. You're playing a role no one cast you for. Somewhere along the way, you were told that patience would be noticed, that fairness would return, that effort would speak for itself. None of that was a lie. It was just incomplete. Those rules only apply after you matter. Before that, you are replaceable scenery. The dangerous part is not knowing this. The dangerous part is sensing it and still pretending otherwise. Because once you see that the world reacts to projection, not identity, you can no longer hide behind innocence. You either adjust or you disappear quietly while telling yourself a comforting story about why it wasn't meant to work. And once that thought settles in, once you realize how easily you were never included, it becomes impossible to feel safe in the same way again. At some point, the confusion turns into suspicion. Not about them, about you. You start noticing how quickly attention moves, how easily people pivot toward whoever fills the space with certainty. You realize no one is scanning the room for honesty or depth. They are scanning for signals, strength, clarity, direction. The systems you thought were neutral are not broken. They are indifferent. They don't adapt to you. You adapt to them, or you remain unseen. This is where most people stall. They sense the shift but refuse to name it. They keep believing that effort alone bends reality. It doesn't. Reality bends around presence, around those who understand that being visible is not the same as being exposed. You can share everything and still mean nothing. You can suffer loudly and still be irrelevant. The illusion of importance keeps people soft. It convinces them that their feelings are evidence, that their struggle counts as leverage, that being hurt gives them moral weight. It doesn't. It just makes them predictable. Predictability is exploitable. This is why empathy without position turns into weakness. This is why fairness becomes a trap when you expect it from structures that were never built to protect you. The moment you stop seeing yourself as the center, something uncomfortable happens. You feel smaller, quieter, almost erased. That feeling is not failure. It is the last honest signal you get before adaptation. Because once you accept that you are not special by default, you can finally choose what you want to represent. You stop leaking energy into being understood. You stop explaining your intent. You start shaping perception instead of defending identity. This is the difference between being seen and being relevant. Being seen invites opinion. Being relevant forces response. Most people chase visibility because it feels like progress. Relevance feels colder. It requires restraint, control, the ability to let misunderstandings exist because correcting them would lower your position. This is where the skeleton appears, not as death, but as clarity. The version of you that no longer bleeds for being overlooked, no longer flinches at silence, no longer asks why. Because when you stop taking reactions personally, you also stop being manipulated by their absence. The world doesn't need to attack you to control you. It just needs to ignore you long enough for you to doubt yourself. And once that doubt settles, you start performing desperation instead of presence, which guarantees you stay exactly where you are. There is a moment when the noise fades and what's left feels like abandonment. Not dramatic abandonment, quiet abandonment, messages unanswered, effort unmirrored. Doors that don't slam, they just never open. This is where people misunderstand the pain. They think it comes from rejection. It doesn't. Rejection still acknowledges your existence. The real damage happens when nothing reacts to you at all. When your presence doesn't disturb the surface. When your absence changes nothing. That is when the illusion finally cracks. You see that no one is watching closely. No one is tracking your intent. No one is waiting for you to arrive fully formed. The world isn't cruel, it's efficient. It allocates attention where impact is obvious. And obvious impact rarely comes from sincerity. It comes from coherence, from someone who knows exactly what they represent and never apologizes for the shape of it. This is where personal importance becomes dangerous, because believing you matter by default makes you wait. It makes you patient in rooms that require pressure. It makes you fair in games that reward dominance. It makes you honest where ambiguity would protect you. And while you wait, others move. Not because they are better, but because they are less attached to how they are perceived internally. They don't confuse self-worth with outcome. They don't narrate their struggle. They compress it. They become legible. This is the part most people resist because it feels like erasing yourself. It feels like becoming hollow. But what actually disappears is excess. The need to be acknowledged. The urge to correct misunderstandings. The habit of expecting reciprocity. You start to notice how often people don't betray you. They simply never choose you. And that truth hurts only as long as you believe choice is owed. Once you drop that belief, something stabilizes. You stop negotiating with silence. You stop interpreting delay as disrespect. You stop bleeding value through explanation. This is where control begins to feel quiet, almost boring. No spikes, no validation, just alignment. The skeleton doesn't rage at being ignored. It doesn't perform pain. It stands because it no longer needs to be felt to exist. And the unsettling part is this: the less you ask to be seen, the more clearly you decide where you actually belong. By now, the realization is no longer loud. It doesn't arrive as a shock. It settles. You start seeing patterns you can't unsee. How quickly attention moves past effort. How little space there is for intention without leverage. How systems don't pause to ask who you are, only what signal you emit. This is where most people break, not because they are weak, but because they still think meaning is negotiated emotionally. They believe that if they explain themselves clearly enough, someone will adjust. But nothing adjusts. Not the market, not desire, not power. The silence teaches faster than feedback ever could. You notice how empathy functions as decoration, not currency. How fairness is admired but never rewarded. How patience is interpreted as absence. And how being genuine without being precise makes you invisible. The illusion of personal importance keeps people exposed. It makes them predictable. They announce their values hoping someone will protect them. They wait to be recognized before they act. They expect continuity in a world that runs on interruption. And because of that, they are easy to move around, easy to delay, easy to replace. The shift happens when you stop treating your inner world as relevant to the outcome. When you stop believing that how something feels determines how it lands. Relevance isn't about depth. It's about clarity, about being unmistakable. When you remove the need to be understood, your behavior sharpens. You stop offering access to your confusion. You stop reacting to signals that were never meant for you. You stop trying to extract meaning from indifference. And slowly, the pressure lifts. Not because life becomes kind, but because you stop misreading it. You see how people don't conspire against you. They simply respond to what's easiest to categorize, what's most consistent, what doesn't ask for interpretation. The skeleton doesn't seek empathy because it no longer believes empathy governs outcomes. It doesn't ask for fairness because fairness has never been enforceable. It stands in a posture that requires no explanation, and that posture changes how things orbit you, not dramatically, subtly. Doors don't open wide, they just stop closing automatically. Resistance doesn't disappear, it becomes quieter. And that's the dangerous part. Because once you understand that nothing was ever personal, you also understand that nothing will warn you before it moves on without you. At this point, nothing needs to be explained anymore. You already feel the shift. Not excitement, not relief, just distance. The clean distance that appears when you finally stop assuming the world owes you a reaction. This is where control actually begins. Not the loud kind, the quiet one. The kind that comes from realizing you were never in a dialogue, only in a display. Once you see that, you stop negotiating with absence. You stop reading silence as rejection. You stop assigning meaning to faces that were never looking at you in the first place. You move differently, slower, cleaner. You no longer volunteer your intentions. You let outcomes speak. You let alignment replace explanation. This is where most people would ask what to do next. That question itself reveals they are still waiting to be led, still hoping for instruction, still imagining a central path designed for them. But there is no next step handed out. There is only positioning, the kind that happens when you remove yourself from the need to matter emotionally and start existing strategically. Machiavelli understood this without sentiment. He didn't frame it as cruelty, he framed it as clarity. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. What is visible outweighs what is real. What is projected shapes what is granted. And once you internalize that, you stop bleeding energy into places that never intended to respond. You stop mistaking attention for connection. You stop mistaking effort for value. The skeleton doesn't perform this shift. It embodies it, elegant, still, unavailable to manipulation because it no longer asks to be seen. It simply occupies space that makes sense. And that is the final danger. Because when you stop taking things personally, you also stop offering yourself as an object of persuasion. You choose when to engage, you choose what gets access, you choose what remains untouched. If something here feels uncomfortable, that's not resistance. That's recognition. It's the moment where the illusion tries one last time to reassert itself. You don't need to fight it. You don't need to reject it. You just need to stop feeding it. Let the rest adjust. And if it doesn't, that tells you exactly what it was worth.